Hello photographers, my name is Spyros Heniadis and this is where I answer your photography questions and we learn about photography together. Today we're wrapping up our series on composition with part 7, color. And just as with everything else in this series, what you really want to understand is how people react to color so that you can use that to further engage viewers in your photos. So what exactly is color? Color is how our brains process electromagnetic radiation. And there's a lot of science behind this, but in a nutshell, humans see color because our eyes contain cells that are sensitive to certain frequencies of radiation. When radiation within those frequencies enters our eyes and hits those cells, we see any number of these colors. It also means that color is part of the constant visual stimuli that our brains process, catalog, and filter every second of every day. To effectively use color, we need to understand the basic principles of color theory, which starts with the color wheel. This wheel shows 6 colors, which are the primary and secondary colors. And if you take a moment to look around you, you will find that by and large, these are the colors that you will see. Now, the human eye can actually see around 10 million colors, but those millions of colors are all just mixtures of these colors here. So we're not going to worry about those millions, we're just going to focus on the 6. Color theory is an understanding of how we perceive the interaction of these different colors. There are 2 basic color interactions, complementary and analogous. Analogous colors are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. And analogous colors blend together, creating harmony, which tends to mute the overall intensity of the colors. Here we have blue and green together doing just that. You can see the difference between the blue and the green, but neither color really pops out from the other. Instead, they almost blend together. The use of analogous colors will tend to promote feelings of calm and harmony in your images. In addition, blue and green are both cooler colors, and cool colors also tend to promote feelings of calm and relaxation. Now let's compare that to complementary colors. Complementary colors are opposite from each other on the color wheel, and they increase contrast and intensity, creating feelings of high energy and even agitation. Here we have orange and red against blue, and right away you should notice a difference in the intensity of these colors. The complementary nature really makes the red and the orange pop out in this shot, where the green and the blue tended to blend together. In addition to that, warm colors give feelings of stimulation, energy, and activity, which is in direct opposition to the calm harmony of the cool colors. So, in a shot like this, there's not only a contrast of actual color, there's a contrast in the feelings that the photo may generate. So let's take a moment to look at the colors themselves. With the green on blue, there is definitely a difference between the colors, but it's not incredibly jarring. Again, this is because these are analogous colors, and the harmony that exists between these colors allows them to blend and appear to be on the same level. When we look at the red against the blue, this becomes quite jarring. Both the red and the blue look much more intense because they are complementary colors, opposite from each other on the color wheel. And the red looks like it's popping right off the screen. That increased contrast and intensity creates a separation in the colors that really makes the red stand out. And that right there is basic color theory. Colors that are next to each other will promote harmony and tend to blend together, and colors that are opposite from each other will tend to be more intense and create contrast with each other. Now, this is our purely visual reaction to colors based on how our brains process these things. However, colors also have a social context that we need to consider. For instance, the color red is associated with energy, aggression, war, strength, danger, passion, love, and lust. And these are pretty universal associations, but there is no guarantee that any one person will associate one or any of these things with the color red. Just as I knew that people would react differently to the photo of the snake in the texture video, we have to understand that different people and different cultures associate different things with different colors. For instance, Americans and Europeans often associate red with adultery, but in Asia, the color red is often associated with fertility, life, and happiness. So remember, you cannot be 100% sure of the associations a person may make with the colors in your photo. Now, I'm not going to list all the common associations for each color because that would get really boring. Instead, I've created a PDF that you can download at this link right here. The PDF has the color wheel with a brief rundown of the color theory we just covered and the common color associations. What I want to do for the rest of this video is discuss how to use this information in your compositions. One of the easiest things you can do with color is use it to highlight your subject. A perfect example of this is flowers and plants. Flowers and plants naturally use color to stand out and attract bees, birds, and other wildlife for pollination and seed propagation. Just look at the colors of this passion flower. The pistils and the stamen of this flower are a nice yellow, which really stands out against the purple, because purple and yellow are complementary colors, which increases the contrast and intensity of both colors. Then you have the purple against the green, which is another complementary pair, creating layers of bright, vibrant colors designed for visual appeal. Now with flowers, this occurs more or less naturally, but as a photographer, you can exert some influence over your photo. For example, in this shot, there's not much going on in terms of the color. Overall, they are very muted, which tends to happen in dim light, and as a result, my subject doesn't really stand out. What I wanted to show was the intensity of the singer, but that's almost entirely lost as he blends into the background. Now compare that to this shot right here. For this shot, I waited for the lights to be just right, and the difference the colors make is amazing. Now the singer stands out beautifully because of the contrast between the red and the blue, and the intensity I wanted to capture is now very evident. It doesn't always have to be complementary colors though. In this case here, I spied this Mountain Dew can perched on this windowsill, and I really loved the way the green popped out against the muted colors of the stone and the glass. In a shot like this, you notice the background to a certain degree, but your eyes are drawn to the can in large part because of the intensity of the green against the dull background. So it doesn't always have to be a complementary color pair either. Just look at the colors of your subject and the scene and see how they react together. And it always doesn't have to be about colors popping off of the photo. Sometimes you want to promote harmony and calm with analogous colors. Here we have a lot of yellows and greens that flow and blend together, creating a very fluid composition that is quite calming. In this case, the color isn't what sets the main subject apart from the background. It's the depth of field, and the result is a very harmonious, calm, and beautiful photo. So what this is telling us is that we can use colors to highlight our subjects and manipulate the contrast in our photo. Now let's look at how we can use color to influence the mood of the photo. In this photo right here, I spied these two teenagers being all lovey-dovey. And this is my out of the camera shot, which isn't bad, but compare that shot to this. In this shot, I deliberately added a bit of an orange tint to give it that warm summery glow, which perfectly complements the theme of teenage summer love. And I did this by changing the white balance of the image to increase the overall warmth. But you don't have to do it with the white balance. Here's an example where I didn't change the white balance, but I did use the color to influence the feeling of the photo. Green is a color that is associated with nature, life, renewal, and growth. The background of this photo is actually a row of evergreen trees, but the incredibly shallow depth of field I created turned them into this beautiful creamy green background. That green background is a perfect complement to this melting icicle, which itself can be associated with a sense of renewal and growth as a signal of spring. This results in a photo that has a sense of calm, hope, harmony, and peace to it. However, consider the same photo with a blue background. Now, all sense of spring and renewal is completely lost. Instead of a sense of calm, there is a very strong suggestion of cold from the blue. The melting icicle is suggestive of heat and possibly spring, but with the overwhelming suggestion of cold associated with the blue, this image becomes jarring and contrasty. Any sense of calm is largely lost, and you can almost feel a sense of despair over the suggestion of a never-ending winter. Alright, so let's recap what we know about using color. We know that there are two main interactions of color, analogous and complementary. Analogous colors will tend to blend and reduce contrast, creating a sense of harmony in your composition. Complementary colors will augment each other, making the colors seem more vibrant, which increases the overall contrast. We know that we can use complementary colors to make our subject stand out in a photo, helping to direct the viewer's attention to that subject. We know that the use of color can dramatically change the contrast of an image, and we know that different colors have different social associations that can impact the way a viewer responds to your photo. We also know that the colors used in the photo can heavily influence the overall mood, like the green and blue influence the icicle photo. Okay, I want to wrap this up by making two more points. And the first is that often the best use of color in your photos is simplified. You may have noticed that every photo I used in this video only featured 2 or 3 major colors in the composition. And that's not to say that there were not other colors, but the overall composition featured just a few. With the photo of the fair ride, it was blue, orange, and red. With the passion flower, it was yellow, purple, and green. With the singer, it was blue and red. With the inchworm, it was green and yellow. And with the icicle, it was just green. So this isn't to say that you can't ever take a photo that's loaded with colors, but in my experience, I found that fewer carefully chosen colors will have a much greater impact than a photo that is overwhelmed with colors. That simplification allows for use that will be attractive to the viewer. A chaotic assemblage of colors can be too much for the brain to process, and as a result, it could turn a viewer away from your photo. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the goal is to engage the viewers in your photo. And I want to wrap up this series with my second point. Whether you're using complementary colors, lines, shapes, contrast, perspective, or any other compositional trick, when you create a composition, you are creating a work of art. Composition plays a huge role in creating photographs that are engaging and enjoyable to look at. And the more deliberate you are about your compositions, the better your photos will be. I've said it over and over in these videos that you shouldn't let all of these elements paralyze your process. It's something that can easily happen if you actively think about all of these different elements for every photo you take. So when I say to be deliberate about your compositions, I don't mean that you need to run through a giant checklist here. Instead, always be aware of your composition. It's the difference between seeing something shiny and instinctively grabbing your camera to take a photo and deliberately exploring your subject to find and capture a photo that speaks to you and your audience. Okay, that's all I've got for you guys this week, and if you have any questions about colors or the rest of the composition series, let me know down in the comments. And while you're down there, tell me what is your favorite color. I'll start it off, so if you want to know what my favorite color is, check down in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. If you really like this video, why don't you do me a favor and share it with your friends? But the most important thing that you need to do is get out there, take some damn photos. I'll see you guys next week. It's like, how do you decide what to talk about color? There's so much to talk about with color. I'll see you guys next week. Just breathe.